Yeah, I'm here. How are we all doing? All right, some freaking music going here. All right. There we go. Well, I hope everybody has had a good weekend. It's these days I'm just happy to be upright and mobile. I hope you're all doing well. Hey, Peggy. Hey, Jasmine. Hello, Southern Blue Eyes. Sunshine, how are you? It's a new month. And that's what I'm going to say. It's a new month. And we can just hope for the best. It's really all we can ever do. I am trying very hard to be optimistic, but we shall see. Not gonna let one bad month ruin my day, or month, or yeah. What I said, sure. Hey, Shadow, how are you? Buenos noches, Queen of Denial, how are you? I have this idea that it's now that I'm tracking 32 countries, so 33 countries so far, I'm going to try to learn to say hello in each one. I probably won't learn more of the language than that, but, hey, we'll do the best we can. Winnie the Pooh is one of my favorites. Oh, good. I'm glad. I am glad to hear that. Well, you're definitely ahead of me, Cece. Hey, Marcy, how are you? Welcome in. This particular book, along with the original Winnie the Pooh book, are very important to me. It meant a lot to me as a kid growing up, and just the thought of being able to. This is one of those moments where I really enjoy. I enjoy doing this always, but nights like this are special because so many people know Winnie the Pooh. I mean, it's just. Hey, Stray Hippie, how are you? Hey, Buford. So many people know Winnie the Pooh, and they know Winnie the Pooh because of Disney, and that's not a bad thing. Really, if you really look at it, the adaptions that they did for their animation are really close to the original material. And most people, though, what I've found is while they've seen the Disney stuff, they've never actually read the stories. And the stories are just as good, if not better. Old Brum in Norwegian. Nice. I did not know that. And I love the fact that I get to do this and introduce. Well, welcome back, Suzanne. Haven't seen you in a little bit. Glad to have you here. Oh, Sharon, that's wonderful. We'll hang out and let's read together. That's the thing. I'm being able to read these stories to you guys and introduce you to the books that a lot of these are based on, is really amazing. Well, hello over there on the tubes. Good to see so many of you. That's amazing. Suzanne, yes, I did. Got the car fixed. The glass is all intact now. And with my daughter's help, we got the car in the garage so that hopefully no one will touch it again. Well, and that's the wonderful thing, Jasmine, about all these characters. Is they all have their little flaws. But at the end of the day, they're all friends. And to me, that's beautiful. It really, truly is. So we'll give a couple minutes here for more people to filter in, and then we will get started. I'm really kind of hoping this turns out to be a great start to this month. Hello, morning. Good evening. That's confusing, but I like it. Thank you guys for all of the likes and the gifts and the shares. It makes this old guy feel good, and I appreciate that. All right. You're happy, or you caught me happy? I am happy you're here, morning. I truly am. Oh, that's a wonderful... I used to read it to my kids, Erica. So stick around and listen, and maybe bring back some good memories. Hey, music, how are you? Yes, Suzanne, I have not started reading the book yet, and it's going to go tonight. We're going to read the first 5 chapters, and then tomorrow we're going to read the next 5 chapters. And the beautiful thing about this book is it is public domain, so I don't have to worry about anybody specking me. Yes. Yep, the Loggins and Messina song. Yep, it's a beautiful thing. Oh, got the teddy bear. He's so cute. Thank you. Wings, that is entirely possible. We've done The Adventure of the Speckled Band, which I'm sure you remember because you were here then. You're already crying. Believe me, this is one of those... This is a book that is special to my heart. And don't be surprised if I get emotional tonight. All right, well, it is now 9:12 here on the East Coast, and we are going to settle in and get started. Smooch, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you. My favorite book? Ooh, that's a tough question. I hear you, Erica. That's a tough place. That's a tough place to be and a tough decision to make, but setting boundaries matters. So, for what it's worth, I'm proud of you for taking care of yourself, because that's really what it is. Oh, where the red fern grows. So my favorite children's book, boy, that's a tough one, is probably I'm 51, and I know what you mean. The Phantom Tollbooth is probably one of my favorite children's books. But the original Winnie the Pooh that we read a few weeks ago, is definitely up there as well. If you want to talk favorite book of all time, no, that's a tough one. It is probably going to be favorite non-children's book is probably going to be Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Crazy Mama, you didn't miss a thing. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick is actually the book that Blade Runner was based on. It's a fantastic book, asks a lot of existential questions. If you think about it, the title itself, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, is a wild question. It's a wild thought experiment. No, not Ready Player One. Don't get me started. I get it, but I probably will never walk away. Probably never. I would probably never read it again. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Yeah, we read that here, and it's such a fun book to read. It is such a fun book, along with James and the Giant Peach. Yeah, it's wonderful. I actually found my copy of My Side of the Mountain, so that might be one I read, but we'll see. All right, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Storytime with UndeadPapa. Queen, yes, I have. Is the following two books, when we Now We Are Six, and I cannot for the life of me remember the next one, are all his poetry, and they are beautiful. They are beautiful. Where the Wild Things Are. Actually, we did that a couple last weekend for our picture book night. We did that one. So tonight we return to one of my very favorite places, the 100 Acre Wood. Never Ending Story. I don't know if I could read that one online because it is a thick sucker. To Pooh and his friends, and a very bouncy new arrival. There will be houses built, searches organized, trees climbed. But beneath all the silliness is something warm and familiar. A little world where friendship matters, and where there is always room for one more adventure. So wherever you're listening from, dim the lights, sit back and relax, because story time is about to begin. This is The House at Pooh Corner by A.A. Milne. Deep breaths indeed. Okay. Chapter 1, in which a house is built at Pooh Corner for Eeyore. One day, when Pooh Bear had nothing else to do, he thought he would do something, so he went round to Piglet's house to see what Piglet was doing. It was still snowing as he stumped over the white forest track, and he expected to find Piglet warming his toes in front of his fire. But to his surprise, he saw that the door was open, and the more he looked inside, the more Piglet wasn't there. "He's out," said Pooh sadly. "That's what it is. He's not in. I shall have to go a fast thinking walk by myself. Bother." But first he thought that he would knock very loudly, just to make quite sure. And while he waited for Piglet not to answer, he jumped up and down to keep warm, and a hum suddenly came into his head, which seemed to him a good hum, such as is hummed, but hopefully to others. "The more it snows, tiddly-pum, the more it goes, tiddly-pum, the more it goes, tiddly-pum, on snowing. And nobody knows, tiddly-pum, how cold my toes, tiddly-pum, how cold my toes, tiddly-pum, are growing." "So what I'll do," said Pooh, "is I'll do this. I'll just go home first and see what the time is, and perhaps I'll put a muffler around my neck, and then I'll go and see Eeyore and sing to him." He hurried back to his own house, and his mind was so busy on the way with the hum that he was getting ready for Eeyore, that when he suddenly saw Piglet standing in his best armchair, he could only stand there, rubbing his head and wondering whose house he was in. "Hello, Piglet," he said. "I thought you were out." "No," said Piglet. "It's you who are out, Pooh." "So it was," said Pooh. "I knew one of us was." He looked up at his clock, which had stopped at about 5 minutes to 11 some weeks ago. "Nearly 11 o'clock," said Pooh happily. "You're just in time for a smackerel of something." And he put his head into the cupboard. "And then we'll go out, Piglet, and sing my song to Eeyore." "Which song, Pooh?" "The one we're going to sing to Eeyore," explained Pooh. The clock was still saying 5 minutes to 11 when Pooh and Piglet set out on their way half an hour later. The wind had dropped, and the snow, tired of rushing round in circles trying to catch itself up, now fluttered gently down until it found a place on which to rest. And sometimes the place was on Pooh's nose, and sometimes it wasn't. And in a little while, Piglet was wearing a white muffler round his neck and feeling more snowy behind the ears than he had ever felt before. "Pooh," he said at last, and a little timidly, because he didn't want Pooh to think he was giving in. "I was just wondering, how would it be if we went home now and practiced your song and then sang it to Eeyore tomorrow, or the next day when we happen to see him?" "Well, that's a very good idea, Piglet," said Pooh. "We'll practice it now as we go along. But it's no good going home to practice it, because it's special outdoors. It's a special outdoor song, which has to be sung in the snow." "Are you sure?" asked Piglet anxiously. "Well, you see, Piglet, when you listen. You'll see, Piglet, when you listen, because this is how it begins. The more it snows, tiddly-pum." "Tiddly what?" said Piglet. "Pum," said Pooh. "I put that in to make it more hummy. The more it goes, tiddly-pum, the more—" "Didn't you say snows?" "Yes, but that was before." "Before the tiddly-pum?" "It was a different tiddly-pum," said Pooh, feeling rather muddled now. "I'll sing it to you properly, and then you'll see." So he sang it again. "The more it snows, tiddly-pum, the more it goes, tiddly-pum. The more it goes, tiddly-pum, on snowing, and nobody knows, tiddly-pum, how cold my toes, tiddly-pum, how cold my toes, tiddly-pum, are growing." He sang it like that, which is much the best way of singing it, and when he had finished, he waited for Piglet to say that. Of all the outdoor hums for snowy weather he had ever heard, this was the best. And after thinking the matter out clearly, Piglet said, "Pooh," he said solemnly, "it isn't the toes so much as the ears." By this time they were getting near Eeyore's gloomy place, which was where he lived, and it was still very snowy behind Piglet's ears, and he was getting tired of it. They turned into a little pine wood and sat down on the gate which led to it. They were out of the snow now, but it was very cold, and to keep themselves warm they sang Pooh's song right through 6 times. Piglet doing the tiddly-palms, and Pooh doing the rest of it, and both of them thumping on top of the gate with pieces of stick at the proper places. And in a little while they felt much better and were able to talk again. "I've been thinking," said Pooh, and what I've been thinking is this. I've been thinking about Eeyore." "What about Eeyore?" "Well, poor Eeyore has nowhere to live." "Nor he has," said Piglet. "You have a house, Piglet, and I have a house, and they are very good houses. And Christopher Robin has a house, and Owl and Kanga and Rabbit have houses, and even Rabbit's friends and relations have houses or some things. But poor Eeyore has nothing. So what I've been thinking is this. Let's build him a house." "That," said Piglet, "is a grand idea. Where shall we build it?" "We will build it here," said Pooh, "just by this wood, out of the wind, because this is where I thought of it. And we will call this Pooh Corner, and we will build an Eeyore house with sticks at Pooh Corner for Eeyore." "There was a heap of sticks on the other side of the wood," said Piglet. "I saw them, lots and lots, all piled up." "Thank you, Piglet," said Pooh. What you have just said will be a great help to us, and because of it I could call this place Pooh and Piglet Corner, if Pooh Corner didn't sound better, which it does, being smaller and more like a corner. Come along." So they got down off the gate and went around to the other side of the wood to fetch the sticks. Christopher Robin had spent the morning indoors going to Africa and back, and he had just got off the boat and was wondering what it was like outside, when who should come knocking at the door but Eeyore. "Well, hello, Eeyore," said Christopher Robin as he opened the door and came out. "How are you?"
"It's snowing still," said Eeyore gloomily.
"So it is."
"And freezing."
"Is it?"
"Yes," said Eeyore. "However," he said, brightening up a little, "we haven't had an earthquake lately."
"What's the matter, Eeyore?"
"Nothing, Christopher Robin. Nothing important. I suppose you haven't seen a house or whatnot anywhere about."
"What sort of house?"
"Just a house."
"Who lives there?"
"I do. At least I thought I did. But I suppose I don't. After all, we can't all have houses."
"But, Eeyore, I didn't know. I always thought—"
"I don't know how it is, Christopher Robin, but what with all this snow and one thing and another, or not to mention icicles and such like, it isn't so hot in my field about 3 o'clock in the morning as some people think it is. It isn't close, if you know what I mean. Not so as to be uncomfortable. It isn't stuffy. In fact, Christopher Robin," he went on in a loud whisper, "quite between ourselves, and don't tell anybody, it's cold."
"Oh, Eeyore!"
And I said to myself, the others will be sorry if I'm getting myself all cold. They haven't got brains, any of them, only gray fluff that's blown into their heads by mistake, and they don't think. But if it goes on snowing for another 6 weeks or so, one of them will begin to say to himself, Eeyore can't be so much too hot about 3 o'clock in the morning, and then it will get about, and they'll be sorry.
"Oh, Eeyore," said Christopher Robin, feeling very sorry already.
"I don't mean you, Christopher Robin. You're different. So what it all comes to is this, that I built myself a house down by my little wood."
"Oh, did you really? How exciting!"
"That the really exciting part," said Eeyore in his most melancholy voice, "is that when I left it this morning it was there, and when I came back it wasn't. Not at all. Very natural, and it was only Eeyore's house, but still, I just wondered."
Christopher Robin didn't stop to wonder. He was already back in his house, putting on his waterproof hat, his waterproof boots, and his waterproof mackintosh as fast as he could. "We'll go and look for it at once," he called out to Eeyore.
"Sometimes," said Eeyore, "when people have quite finished taking a person's house, there are 1 or 2 bits which they don't want, and are rather glad for the person to take back. But if you know what I mean. So I thought if we just went—"
"Come on," said Christopher Robin, and off they hurried. In a very little time they got to the corner of the field by the side of the pine wood, where Eeyore's house wasn't any longer.
"There," said Eeyore. "Not a stick of it left. Of course, I've still got all this snow to do with what I like. One mustn't complain."
But Christopher Robin wasn't listening to Eeyore. He was listening to something else. "Can't you hear it?" he asked.
"What is it? Somebody laughing?"
"Listen." They both listened, and they heard a deep, gruff voice saying in a singing voice that the more it snowed, the more it went on snowing, and a small, high voice tiddly-palming in between. "It's Pooh," said Christopher Robin excitedly.
"Possibly," said Eeyore.
"And Piglet," said Christopher Robin excitedly.
"Probably," said Eeyore. "What we want is a trained bloodhound."
The words of the song changed suddenly.
"We've finished our house," sang the gruff voice.
"Tiddly-pum," sang the squeaky one.
"It's a beautiful house."
"Tiddly-pum."
"I wish it were mine."
"Tiddly-pum." "Pooh!" shouted Christopher Robin. The singers on the gate stopped suddenly.
"It's Christopher Robin,"
said Pooh eagerly. "He's round by the place where we got all those sticks from," said Piglet.
"Come on,"
said Pooh. They climbed down their gate and hurried round the corner of the wood, Pooh making welcoming noises all the way.
"Why, here is Eeyore,"
said Pooh, when he had finished hugging Christopher Robin, and he nudged Piglet, and Piglet nudged him, and they thought to themselves what a lovely surprise they had got ready. "Hello, Eeyore."
"Same to you, Piglet, and twice on Thursdays," said Eeyore gloomily.
Before Pooh could say, "Why Thursdays?" Christopher Robin began to explain the sad story of Eeyore's lost house, and Pooh and Piglet listened, and their eyes seemed to get bigger and bigger. "Where did you say it was?" asked Pooh.
"Just here," said Eeyore.
"Made of sticks?"
"Yes."
"Oh," said Piglet.
"What?"
said Eeyore. I just said, 'oh,'" said Piglet nervously. And so, as to seem quite at ease, he hummed Tiddly-Palm once or twice in a what shall we do now kind of way. "You sure it was a house?" said Pooh. "I mean, you're sure the house was just here?"
"Of course I am," said Eeyore, and he murmured to himself, "No brain at all, some of them."
"Why, what's the matter, Pooh?" asked Christopher Robin.
"Well," said Pooh, "the fact is," said Pooh.
"Well, the fact is," said Pooh. "You see," said Pooh. "It's like this," said Pooh. And something seemed to tell him that he wasn't explaining very well, and he nudged Piglet again. "It's like this," said Piglet quickly. "Only warmer," he added after deep thought. "What's warmer?" "The other side of the house. The other side of the wood where Eeyore's house is."
"My house," said Eeyore. "My house was here."
"No," said Piglet firmly. "The other side of the wood."
"Because of being warmer," said Pooh. "But I ought to know—"
"Come and look," said Piglet simply, and he led the way.
"There wouldn't be 2 houses," said Pooh. "Not so close together."
They came round the corner, and there was Eeyore's house looking as comfy as anything. "There you are," said Piglet.
"Inside as well as outside,"
said Pooh proudly. Eeyore went inside and came out again.
"It's a remarkable thing," he said. "It is my house, and I built it where I said I did, so the wind must have blown it here. And the wind blew it right over the wood and blew it down here. And here it is as good as ever. In fact, much better in places."
"Much better?" said Pooh and Piglet together.
"It just shows what can be done by taking a little trouble," said Eeyore. "Do you see, Pooh? Do you see, Piglet? Brains first, then hard work. Look at it. That's the way to build a house," said Eeyore proudly.
So they left him in it, and Christopher Robin went back to lunch with his friends Pooh and Piglet. And on the way they told him of the awful mistake they had made. And when he had finished laughing, they all sang the outdoor song for snowy weather the rest of the way home. Piglet, who was not quite sure of his voice, putting in the tiddly palms again. "I know it seems easy," said Piglet to himself, "but it isn't everyone who could do it." Well, welcome to all the new folks that are here. Seems like we've got a good crowd going tonight. I really appreciate you guys. Tara, I am just a figment of your imagination. But, feel free to follow and hang out. I am here 4 nights a week. Hey, Rayto, how are you? Welcome in. For those of you that are new here, I do this 4 times a week, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sundays and Mondays are generally reserved for children's books and children's literature. We've also done a night of picture books, which was a lot of fun. Sharon, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. And Wednesdays and Fridays are reserved for a little bit of the strange and dark. Yeah, we read horror stories and science fiction stories and fantasy. We've read some Sherlock Holmes, some Edgar Allan Poe, some H.P. Lovecraft, some Stephen King, some Richard Matheson. We've even done a night of gothic horror, gothic ghost stories and the like. Algernon Blackwood and Ambrose Bierce. And yeah, so we have a lot of fun. This is a wonderful space. If I'm not bragging on myself too much, this is a wonderful space to spend 2 hours in and listen to some stories. The people that are here every night, my regulars, they could tell you that this is a space of calm and kindness where we care for each other, we keep each other safe. We're very welcoming, and we love to have you. So welcome. I appreciate that you're here. Oh, Lavi, please. You are very kind. I appreciate that. But calm and cozy is what I go for. So I really appreciate you. Thank you. Toilet TTV, thank you. I'm glad I can bring some joy. Whiskey Rivers, it is a lovely space to spend some time. And you guys don't get angry with me when I go off on a rant because I've had a bad month. But let us continue. Other great thing about this book is I get to do silly voices. Yes, welcome to all that Wings. Thank you. Welcome to all the new Storytime goblins. Wonderful. Oh, Erica, that is what I strive for. One of the things that I love is to hear people's nostalgia stories, and I love the fact that this brings people some comfort. I've got people that have insomnia that come in and I put them to sleep, and I take that as a compliment. I've got people in here that are visually impaired that come in because this is the best way for them to experience these stories. I couldn't be happier. So, as I said, let's continue. We'll have plenty of time to chat tonight. Well, Erica, I hope that goes well. I truly do. Let us know. If you do, let us know, but if you don't, that's okay too. As long as you protect your peace, that's really what matters. Gilbert, I am glad to have you here. Yes, Timothy, they are one of us now. One of us. One of us. Can you tell me where that quote is from? Do you know? One of us. One of us. If you get it right, I'll clap. Because it's not easy. Catherine, welcome. Thank you for the follow. All right. Wolf of Wall Street. Actually, that's not true. Toy Story? Nope. It's from a movie from the early 1930s, late 1920s. It was actually directed by Todd Browning, who also directed the Dracula, Universal Dracula with what's his name? My God, somebody help me out here. Bela Lugosi, thank you. The movie is actually called Freaks. It is a very strange movie. It's good, but be prepared if you decide to watch it. All right. We got to get going here before people start leaving. 152 people. That's the most I've had in the room all month, all in the last month. So, yeah, I'm very happy. Well, hopefully this month is starting out strong. Chapter 2, in which Tigger comes to the forest and has breakfast. Winnie the Pooh woke up suddenly in the middle of the night and listened. Then he got out of bed and lit his candle and stumped across the room to see if anybody was trying to get into his honey cupboard. And they weren't. So he stumped back again, blew out his candle, and got into bed. Then he heard the noise again. "Is that you, Piglet?" he said. But it wasn't. "Come in, Christopher Robin," he said. But Christopher Robin didn't. "Tell me about it tomorrow, Eeyore," said Pooh sleepily. But the noise went on. Said whatever it was, and Pooh found that he wasn't asleep after all. What can it be? He thought. There are lots of noises in the forest, but this is a different one. It isn't a growl, and it isn't a purr, and it isn't a bark, and it isn't the noise you make before beginning a piece of poetry. Can you imagine? If I started out like, She Walks in Beauty, and I started it out with... I may have to do that sometime. But it's a noise of some kind made by a strange animal, and he's making it outside my door. So I shall get up and ask him not to do it. He got out of bed and opened his front door. "Hello," said Pooh, in case there was anything outside. "Hello," said whatever it was. "Oh," said Pooh. "Hello. Hello." "Oh, there you are," said Pooh. "Hello. Hello," said the strange animal, wondering how long this was going on. Pooh was just going to say hello for the fourth time when he thought that he wouldn't, so he said, "Who is it?" "Me," said a voice. "Oh," said Pooh. "Well, come here." So, whatever it was, came here, and in the light of the candle, he and Pooh looked at each other. "I'm Pooh," said Pooh. I'm Tigger, said Tigger. Oh, said Pooh, for he had never seen an animal like this before. Does Christopher Robin know about you? Why, of course he does, said Tigger. Well, said Pooh, it's the middle of the night, which is a good time for going to sleep. And tomorrow morning we'll have some honey for breakfast. Do Tiggers like honey? Oh, they like everything, said Tigger cheerfully. Then, if they're like going to sleep on the floor, I'll go back to bed, said Pooh, and we'll do things in the morning. Good night. And he got back into bed and went fast asleep. When he awoke in the morning, the first thing he saw was Tigger sitting in front of the glass and looking at himself. Hello, said Pooh. Oh, hello, said Tigger. I found somebody just like me. I thought I was the only one of them. Pooh got out of bed and began to explain what a looking-glass was. But just as he was getting to the interesting part, Tigger said, Excuse me for a moment, but there's something climbing up your table. And with one loud roar, he jumped at the end of the tablecloth, pulled it to the ground, wrapped himself up in it 3 times, rolled to the other end of the room, and after a terrible struggle, got his head into the daylight again and said cheerfully, Have I won? That's my tablecloth, as he began to unwind Tigger. I wondered what it was, said Tigger. It goes on the table, and you put things on it. There's Pooh's voice. Then why did it try to bite me when I wasn't looking? I don't think it did, said Pooh. It tried, said Tigger, but I was too quick for it. Pooh put the cloth back on the table, and he put a large honey pot on the cloth, and they sat down to breakfast. As soon as they sat down, Tigger took a large mouthful of honey, and he looked up at the ceiling with his head on one side and made exploring noises with his tongue, considering noises, and what have we got here noises. And then he said in a very decided voice, Tiggers don't like honey. Oh, said Pooh, and tried to make it sound sad and regretful. I thought they liked everything. Except for honey, said Tigger. Pooh felt rather pleased about this and said that as soon as he had finished his own breakfast he would take Tigger round to Piglet's house, and Tigger could try some of Piglet's acorns. Oh, thank you, Pooh, said Tigger, because acorns is really what Tiggers like best. Thank you, Sonny. I'm glad you're enjoying. So after breakfast they went round to see Piglet, and Pooh explained as they went that Piglet was a very small animal who didn't like bouncing, and asked Tigger not to be too bouncy just at first. And Tigger, who had been hiding behind trees and jumping out on Pooh's shadow when it wasn't looking, said that Tiggers were only bouncy before breakfast, and that as soon as they had had a few acorns, they became quiet and refined. So, by and by, they knocked at the door of Piglet's house. Hello, Pooh, said Piglet. Hello, Piglet. This is Tigger. Oh, is it? Said Piglet, and he edged round to the other side of the table. I thought Tiggers were smaller than that. Not the big ones, said Tigger. They like acorns, said Pooh. So that's what we've come for, because poor Tigger hasn't had any breakfast yet. I apologize that it's taken me so long into the book to find Pooh's voice again. It's crazy. But anyway, I'm glad you guys are enjoying. Because this honestly, doing this, as I've said many times before, gives me life. Piglet rushed the bowl of acorns towards Tigger and said, Help yourself." And then he got up close to Pooh and felt much braver and said, "So, you're Tigger." "Well, well," in a careless sort of voice. But Tigger said nothing because his mouth was full of acorns. After a long munching noise, he said, "Ears, ours." And when Pooh and Piglet said, "What?" he said, "Hey, and went outside for a moment. When he came back in, he said firmly, "Tiggers don't like acorns." "But you said they liked everything except honey," said Pooh. "Everything except honey and acorns," explained Tigger. When he heard this, Pooh said, "Oh, I see." And Piglet, who was rather glad that Tiggers didn't like acorns, said, "What about thistles?" "Thistles," said Tigger, is what Tiggers like best." "Then let's go along and see Eeyore," said Piglet. So the three of them went. And after they had walked and walked and walked, they came to the part of the forest where Eeyore was. "Hello, Eeyore," said Pooh. "This is Tigger."
"What is?" said Eeyore.
"This," explained Pooh and Piglet together, and Tigger smiled his happiest smile and said nothing. Eeyore walked all around Tigger one way, then turned and walked all around him the other way.
"What did you say it was?" he asked.
"Tigger."
"Ah," said Eeyore.
He's just come," explained Piglet.
"Ah," said Eeyore again.
He thought for a long time and then said,
"When is he going?"
Pooh explained to Eeyore that Tigger was a great friend of Christopher Robin's who had come to stay in the forest. And Piglet explained to Tigger that he mustn't mind what Eeyore said because he was always gloomy. And Eeyore explained to Piglet that, on the contrary, he was feeling particularly cheerful this morning. And Tigger explained to anybody who was listening that he hadn't had any breakfast yet. "I knew there was something," said Pooh. "Tiggers always eat thistles, so that is why we came to see you, Eeyore."
"Don't mention it, Pooh."
"Oh, Eeyore, I didn't mean that I didn't want to see you."
Quite. But your new stripy friend, naturally, he wants his breakfast. What did you say his name was?"
"Tigger."
"Then come this way, Tigger."
Eeyore led the way to the most thistly-looking patch of thistles that ever was, and waved a hoof at it.
"A little patch I was keeping for my birthday," he said. "But, after all, what are birthdays? Here today and gone tomorrow. Help yourself, Tigger."
Tigger thanked him and looked a little anxiously at Pooh. "Are these really thistles?" he whispered. "Yes," said Pooh.
"What Tiggers like best?"
"That's right," said Pooh.
"I see," said Tigger.
So he took a large mouthful, and he gave a large crunch.
"Ow!"
said Tigger. He sat down and put his paw in his mouth. "What's the matter?" asked Pooh.
"Hot,"
mumbled Tigger.
"Your friend," said Eeyore, "appears to have bitten on a bee."
Pooh's friend stopped shaking his head to get the prickles out and explained that Tiggers didn't like thistles.
"Then why bend a perfectly good one?" asked Eeyore.
"But you said," began Pooh, "you said that Tiggers liked everything except honey and acorns." "And thistles," said Tigger, who was now running around in circles with his tongue hanging out. Pooh looked at him sadly. "What are we going to do?" he asked Piglet. Piglet knew the answer to that, and he said at once that they must go and see Christopher Robin. "You'll find him with Kanga," said Eeyore. He came close to Pooh and said in a loud whisper, "Could you ask your friend to do his exercises somewhere else? I shall be having lunch directly, and I don't want it bounced on just before I begin. A trifling matter and fussy of me, but we all have our little ways." Pooh nodded solemnly and called to Tigger. "Come along. We'll go and see Kanga. She's sure to have lots of breakfast for you." Tigger finished his last circle and came up to Pooh and Piglet. "Hot," he explained with a large and friendly smile. "Come on," and he rushed off. Pooh and Piglet walked slowly after him. As they walked, Piglet said nothing, because he couldn't think of anything, and Pooh said nothing, because he was thinking of a poem. And when he had thought of it, he began. "What shall we do about poor little Tigger? If he never eats nothing, he'll never get bigger. He doesn't like honey and acorns and thistles because of the taste, because of the bristles, and all the good things which an animal likes have the wrong sort of swallow, or too many spikes." He's quite big enough anyhow," said Piglet. "He isn't really very big." "Oh, well, he seems so." Pooh was thoughtful when he heard this, and then he murmured to himself, "But whatever his weight in pounds, shillings, and ounces, he always seems bigger because of his bounces." "Hey, Songbird, I didn't see you sneak in here. How are we tonight?" "And that's the whole poem," he said. "Do you like it, Piglet?" "All except the shillings," said Piglet. I don't think they ought to be there." "They wanted to come in after the pounds," explained Pooh, "so I let them. It is the best way to write poetry, letting things come." "Oh, I don't know," said Piglet. Tigger had been bouncing in front of them all this time, turning round every now and then to ask, "Is this the way?" And now, at last, they came in sight of Kanga's house, where there was Christopher Robin. Tigger rushed up to them. "Oh, there you are, Tigger," said Christopher Robin. "I knew you'd be somewhere."
"I've been finding things in the forest," said Tigger importantly. "I found a Pooh, and a Piglet, and an Eeyore, but I can't find any breakfast."
Pooh and Piglet came up and hugged Christopher Robin and explained what had been happening. "Don't you know what Tigger's like?" asked Pooh. "I expect if I thought very hard I should," said Christopher Robin. "But I thought Tigger knew." "I do," said Tigger. "Everything there is in the world except honey and acorns and what were those hot things called?" "Thistles?" "Yes, and those." "Oh, well then, Kanga can give you some breakfast." So they went into Kanga's house, and when Roo had said, "Hello, Pooh," and "Hello, Piglet," and once, and "Hello, Tigger," twice, because he had never said it before and it sounded funny, they told Kanga that they wanted what they wanted, and Kanga said very kindly, "Well, look in my cupboard, Tigger dear, and see what you like," because she knew at once that however big Tigger seemed to be, he wanted as much kindness as Roo. "Shall I look too?" said Pooh, who was beginning to feel a little 11 o'clockish, and he found a small tin of condensed milk, and something seemed to tell him that Tiggers didn't like this. So he took it to a corner by itself and went with it to see that nobody interrupted it. But the more Tigger put his nose into this and that, and his nose into this and his paw into that, the more things he found which Tiggers didn't like. And when he found everything in the cupboard and couldn't eat any of it, he said to Kanga, "What happens now?" But Kanga and Christopher Robin and Piglet were all standing round Roo, watching him have his extract of malt. Roo was saying, "Must I?" And Kanga was saying, "Now, Roo dear, you remember what you promised."
What is it?"
whispered Tigger to Piglet. "It's his strengthening medicine," said Piglet. "He hates it." So Tigger came closer, and he leant over the back of Roo's chair, and suddenly he put out his tongue and took one large glallop. And, with a sudden jump of surprise, Kanga said, "Oh!" and then clutched at the spoon again, just as it was disappearing, and pulled it safely back out of Tigger's mouth. But the extract of malt was gone. "Tigger, dear," said Kanga. "He's taken my medicine! He's taken my medicine! He's taken my medicine!" sang Roo happily, thinking it was a tremendous joke. Then Tigger looked up at the ceiling and closed his eyes, and his tongue went round and round his chops, in case he had left any outside. And a peaceful smile came over his face as he said, "Oh, so that's what Tigger's like." Which explains why he always lived at Kanga's house afterwards and had extract of malt for breakfast, dinner, and tea. And sometimes when Kanga thought he wanted strengthening, he had a spoonful or two of Roo's breakfast after meals as medicine. "But I think," said Piglet to Pooh, "that he's been strengthened quite enough." That was 63 new people. Thank you guys so much. 119,000 likes. You guys are amazing. It is really, really appreciated. Yane, how are you? How is the new job? Have you started yet? Thank you guys for sharing. Apple user, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you. No, you are amazing, Sonny, and I'm happy you're here. Thank you, Shadow. I appreciate that. How is Miss Marley? I hope she joins us again soon. Thank you, Toothy. I appreciate you. And thank you guys for the shares. I really appreciate that as well. Whoop. Jasmine, I can only hope. It's looking good. It's looking good over there on the tubes too, you know. I hope you are all well over there on the tubes. I appreciate you all very, very much. Like and share and do all the buttons because it really helps me grow. I really appreciate that. Oh, awesome. Well, hello, Marley. Thank you for joining us. It's so good to have you here again. I appreciate it. You might be my shortest fan. How tall are you? Oh, boy. All right. Well, let us continue. Chapter 3, in which a search is organized. That's what it says. It says organized. Don't come for me. And Piglet nearly meets the heffalump again. Pooh was sitting in his house one day, counting his pots of honey, when there came a knock on the door. "Hey, Sky, how are you?" 14, said Pooh. "Come in, 14. Or was it 15? Oh, bother, that's muddled me." "Hello, Pooh," said Rabbit. "Hello, Rabbit. 14, wasn't it?" "What was?" "My pots of honey that I was counting." "14, that's right." "Are you sure?" "No," said Rabbit. "Does it matter?" "I just like to know," said Pooh humbly, "so I can say to myself, I've got 14 pots of honey left, or 15, as the case may be. It's sort of comforting." "Well, let's call it 16, said Rabbit. "What I came to say was, have you seen Small anywhere about?" "I don't think so," said Pooh. And then, after thinking a little more, he said, "Who's Small?" "One of my friends and relations," said Rabbit carelessly. This didn't help Pooh much, because Rabbit had so many friends and relations, and of such different sorts and sizes, that he didn't know whether he ought to be looking for Small at the top of an oak tree or in the petal of a buttercup. "I haven't seen anybody today," said Pooh. "Not so as to say, 'Hello, Small,' to. Did you want him for anything?" "I don't want him," said Rabbit, "but it's always useful to know where a friend and relation is, whether you want him or whether you don't." "Oh, I see," said Pooh. "Is he lost?" "Well," said Rabbit, "nobody has seen him for a long time, so I suppose he is. Anyhow," he went on importantly, "I promised Christopher Robin that I'd organize a search for him. So come on." Pooh said goodbye affectionately to his 14 pots of honey, and hoped there were 15, and he and Rabbit went out into the forest. "Now," said Rabbit, "this is a search, and I've organized it." "Done what to it?" said Pooh. "Organized. It means, well, it's what you do to a search when you don't all look in the same place at once. So I want you, Pooh, to search by the 6 pine trees first, and then work your way towards Owl's house, and look out for me there. Do you see?" "No," said Pooh. "What? Then I'll see you at Owl's house in an hour's time." "Is Piglet organized too?" "We all are," said Rabbit, and off he went. As soon as Rabbit was out of sight, Pooh remembered that he had forgotten to ask who Small was, and whether he was the sort of friend and relation who settled on one's nose, or the sort who got trodden on by mistake, and it was too late now. He thought he would begin the hunt by looking for Piglet, and asking him what they were looking for before he looked for it. "And it's no good looking at the 6 pine trees for Piglet," said Pooh to himself, "because he's been organized in a special place of his own, so I shall have to look for the special place first. I wonder where it is." And he wrote it down in his head like this: Order of looking for things. 1. Special place. "Oh, she's not with you tonight? Oh, man." "Well, we'll see her when we see her." To find Piglet. 2. Piglet. To find who Small is. Small. To find Small. 4. To tell him I've found Small. 5. Small again. To tell him I've found Rabbit. "Which makes it look like a bothering sort of day," thought Pooh, as he stumped along. The next moment became very bothering indeed, because Pooh was so busy not looking where he was going that he stepped on a piece of the forest which had been left out by mistake,
and he only just had time to think to himself, "I'm flying. What Owl does. I wonder how you stop." Then he stopped. Bump. "Oh!" squeaked something. "That's funny," thought Pooh. "I said ow without really owing." "Help!" said a small, high voice. "That's me again," thought Pooh. "I've had an accident and fallen down a well, and my voice has gone all squeaky and works before I'm ready for it, because I've done something to myself inside. Bother! Help, help! There you are! I say things when I'm not trying, so it must be a very bad accident." Then he thought that perhaps when he had to try to say things he wouldn't be able to. To make sure, he said loudly, "A very bad accident to Pooh Bear." "Pooh!" squeaked the voice. "It's Piglet!" cried Pooh eagerly. "Where are you?" "Underneath," said Piglet in an underneath sort of way. "Underneath what?" "You!" squeaked Piglet. "Get up!" "Oh!" said Pooh, and scrambled up as quickly as he could. "Did I fall on you, Piglet?" "You fell on me," said Piglet, feeling himself all over. "I didn't mean to," said Pooh sorrowfully. "I didn't mean to be underneath," said Piglet sadly. "But I'm all right now, Pooh, and I'm so glad it was you." "What happened?" said Pooh. "Where are we?" "I think we're in a sort of pit. I was walking along looking for somebody, and then suddenly I wasn't anymore. And just when I got up to see where I was, something fell on me, and it was you." "So it was," said Pooh. "Yes," said Piglet. "Pooh," he went on nervously and came a little closer, "do you think we're in a trap?" Pooh hadn't thought about it at all, but now he nodded. For suddenly he remembered how he and Piglet had once made a Pooh trap for heffalumps, and he guessed what had happened. He and Piglet had fallen into a heffalump trap for Poohs. That was what it was. "What happens when the heffalump comes?" asked Piglet tremblingly, when he had heard the news. "Perhaps he won't notice you, Piglet," said Pooh encouragingly, "because you're a very small animal." But he'll notice you, Pooh." "He'll notice me, and I shall notice him," said Pooh, thinking it out. "We'll notice each other for a long time, and then he'll say, 'Ho, ho!'" Piglet shivered a little at the thought of that "ho, ho," and his ears began to twitch. "What will you say?" he asked. Pooh tried to think of something he would say, but the more he thought, the more he felt that there was no real answer to "ho, ho," said by a heffalump in the sort of voice this heffalump was going to say it in. "I shan't say anything," said Pooh at last. "I shall just hum to myself as I was waiting for something." "Then perhaps he'll say ho, ho again," suggested Piglet anxiously. "He will," said Pooh. Piglet's ears twitched so quickly that he had to lean them against the side of the trap to keep them quiet. "He will say it again," said Pooh, "and I shall go on humming, and that will upset him, because when you say ho, ho twice in a gloating sort of way, and the other person only hums, you suddenly find, just as you begin to say it the third time, that, well, you find—" "What?" "That it isn't," said Pooh. "Isn't what?" Pooh knew what he meant, but being a bear of very little brain, couldn't think of the words. "Well, it just isn't," he said again. "You mean it isn't ho-ish any more?" said Piglet hopefully.
Pooh looked at him admiringly and said that that was what he meant. If you went on humming all the time because you couldn't go on saying ho ho forever. But he'll say something else, said Piglet. That's just it. He'll say, what's all this? And then I shall say, and this is a very good idea, Piglet, which I just thought of. I shall say, it's a trap for a heffalump which I have made, and I'm waiting for the heffalump to fall in. And I shall go on humming. That will unsettle him. Pooh! Cried Piglet. Now it was his turn to be the admiring one. You've saved us. Have I? said Pooh, not feeling quite sure. But Piglet was quite sure, and his mind ran on, and he saw Pooh and the heffalump talking to each other. And he thought suddenly, and a little sadly, that it would have been rather nice if it had been Piglet and the heffalump talking so grandly to each other, and not Pooh, much as he loved Pooh, because he really had more brain than Pooh, and the conversation would go better if he and not Pooh were doing one side of it, and it would be comforting afterwards in the evenings to look back on the day when he answered a heffalump back as bravely as if the heffalump wasn't there. It seemed so easy now he knew just what he would say. Heffalump, ho, ho. Piglet, carelessly, tra-la-la. Heffalump, surprised and not quite so sure of himself, ho, ho. Piglet, more carelessly still, tiddle-tum. Heffalump, beginning to say ho-ho and turning it awkwardly into a cough.
Well, what is all this?
Piglet, surprised. Hello, this is a trap I've made, and I'm waiting for a heffalump to fall into it. Heffalump, greatly disappointed.
Oh.
After a long silence,
are you sure?
Piglet. Yes. Heffalump.
Oh. I thought it was a trap I'd made to catch piglets.
Piglet, surprised. Oh, no. Heffalump.
Oh.
Apologetically.
I must have got it wrong then.
Piglet. I'm afraid so. Politely. I'm sorry. He goes on humming. Heffalump.
I suppose I'd better be going back.
Piglet, looking up carelessly. Must you? Well, if you see Christopher Robin anywhere, you might might tell him I want him. Heffalump, eager to please.
Oh, certainly.
He hurries off. Pooh, who wasn't going to be there, but we find he can't do without him. Oh, Piglet, how brave and clever you are. Piglet, modestly. Not at all, Pooh. And then, when Christopher Robin comes, Pooh can tell him all about it. Well, Piglet was dreaming this happy dream, and Pooh was wondering again whether it was 14 or 15. The search for Small was still going on all over the forest. Small's real name was Very Small Beetle, but he was called Small for short, when he was spoken to at all, which hardly ever happened except when somebody said, "Really, Small?" He had been staying with Christopher Robin for a few seconds, and he started round a gorse bush for exercise. But instead of coming back the other way, as expected, he hadn't, so nobody knew where he was. "I suspect he's just gone home," said Christopher Robin to Rabbit. "Did he say goodbye and thank you for a nice time?" said Rabbit. "He'd only just said how do you do," said Christopher Robin. "Ha!" said Rabbit. After thinking a little, he went on. "He has written a letter saying how much he enjoyed himself and how sorry he was he had to go so suddenly." Christopher Robin didn't think he had. "Ha!" said Rabbit again, and looked very important. This is serious. He is lost. We must begin the search at once. Christopher Robin, who was thinking of something else, said, Where's Pooh? But Rabbit had gone. So he went into his house and drew a picture of Pooh going on a long walk at about 7 o'clock in the morning. And then he climbed to the top of his tree and climbed down again, and then wondered what Pooh was doing, and went across the forest to see. It was not long before he came to the gravel pit, and he looked down, and there were Pooh and Piglet with their backs to him, dreaming happily. "Ho, ho!" said Christopher Robin loudly and suddenly. Piglet jumped 6 inches in the air with surprise and anxiety, but Pooh went on dreaming. "It's the heffalump," thought Piglet nervously. "Now then," he hummed in his throat a little, so that none of the words should stick. And then, in the most delightfully easy way, he said, "Tra-la-la, tra-la-la," as if he had just thought of it. But he didn't look round, because if you look round and see a very fierce heffalump looking down at you, sometimes you forget what you were going to say. Rum-tum-tum tiddle-um, said Piglet in a voice like Pooh's, because Pooh had once invented a song which went tra-la-la, 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 trum-tum tiddle-um. So whenever Christopher Robin sings it, he always sings it in a Pooh voice, which seems to suit it better. "He's said the wrong thing," thought Piglet anxiously. "He ought to have said ho-ho again. Perhaps I had better say it for him." And as fiercely as he could, Pooh said, "Ho-ho!" "How did you get there, Piglet?" said Christopher Robin in his ordinary voice. "This is terrible," thought Piglet. "First he talks in Pooh's voice, and then he talks in Christopher Robin's voice, and he's doing it so as to unsettle me." And being now completely unsettled, he said very quickly and squeakily, "This is a trap for Pooh's, and I'm waiting to fall in it. Ho-ho! What's all this?" And then I say ho-ho again. "What?" said Christopher Robin. A trap for ho-hos," said Piglet huskily. "I've just made it, and I'm waiting for the ho-ho to come." How long Piglet would have gone on like this, I don't know. But at the moment, Pooh woke up suddenly and decided that it was 16. So he got up, and as he turned his head so as to soothe himself in that awkward place in the middle of the back where something was tickling him, he saw Christopher Robin. "Hello!" he shouted joyfully. "Hello, Pooh!" Piglet looked up and looked away again, and he felt so foolish and uncomfortable that he had almost decided to run away to sea and be a sailor, when suddenly he saw something. "Pooh!" he cried. "There's something climbing up your back." "I thought there was," said Pooh. "It's small," cried Piglet. "Oh, that's who it is it?" said Pooh. "Christopher Robin, I've found Small," cried Piglet. "Well done, Piglet," said Christopher Robin. And at these encouraging words, Piglet felt quite happy again, and decided not to be a sailor after all. So when Christopher Robin had helped them out of the gravel pit, they all went off together hand in hand. And 2 days later, Rabbit happened to meet Eeyore in the forest. "Hello, Eeyore," he said. "What are you looking for?"
"Small, of course," said Eeyore. "Haven't you any brain?"
"Oh, but didn't I tell you?" said Rabbit. "Small was found 2 days ago." There was a moment's silence.
"Ah, ah," said Eeyore bitterly. "Merriment and what not. Don't apologize. It's just what would happen." Chapter 4, in which it is shown that Tiggers don't climb trees. One day, when Pooh was thinking, he thought he would go and see Eeyore, because he hadn't seen him since yesterday. And as he walked through the heather, singing to himself, he suddenly remembered that he hadn't seen Owl since the day before yesterday. So he thought he would just look in at the 100 Acre Wood on the way and see if Owl was home. Oh, my goodness. Well, he went on singing until he came to the part of the stream where the stepping stones were. And when he in the middle of the third stone, he began to wonder how Kanga and Roo and Tigger were getting on, because they all lived together in a different part of the forest. And he thought, I haven't seen Roo for a long time, and if I haven't seen him today, it will be a still longer time. So he sat down on the stone in the middle of the stream and sang another verse of his song while he wondered what to do. The other verse of the song was like this. I could spend a happy morning seeing Roo. I could spend a happy morning being Pooh. For it doesn't seem to matter if I don't get any fatter. And I don't get any fatter what I do. The sun, which had been delightfully warm, and the stone which had been sitting in it for a long time, was so warm, too, that Pooh had almost decided to go on being Pooh in the middle of the stream for the rest of the morning, when he remembered Rabbit. Rabbit, said Pooh to himself. I like talking to Rabbit. He always talks about sensible things. He doesn't use long, difficult words like Owl. He uses short, easy words, like, what about lunch? And help yourself, Pooh. I suppose, really, I ought to go and see Rabbit. Which made him think of another verse. Oh, I like this way of thinking, yes I do. It's the nicest way of talking just for two. And help yourself with Rabbit. Thought it may become a habit, is a pleasant sort of habit for a Pooh. So when he had sung this, he got up off his stone, walked back across the stream, and set off for Rabbit's house. But he hadn't got too far before he began to say to himself, Yes, but I suppose Rabbit is out. Or, I suppose I get stuck in his door again, coming out as I did once when his front door wasn't big enough. Because I know I'm not getting any fatter, but his door may be getting thinner. So wouldn't it be better if... And all the time he was saying things like this, he was going more and more westerly without thinking, until suddenly he found himself at his own front door again. It was 11 o'clock, which was time for a little something. Half an hour later, he was doing what he had always really meant to do. He was stumping off to Piglet's house. And as he walked, he wiped his mouth with the back of his paw and sang a rather fluffy song through the fur. It went like this. I could spend a happy morning seeing Piglet. And I couldn't spend a happy morning not seeing Piglet. And it doesn't seem to matter if I don't see Owl or Eeyore or any of the others. And I'm not going to see Owl or Eeyore or any of the others or Christopher Robin. Written down like this, it doesn't seem a very good song, but coming through pale fawn fluff at about 11:30 on a very sunny morning, it seemed to Pooh to be one of the best songs he had ever sung. So he went on singing it. Piglet was busy digging a small hole in the ground outside his house. Hello, Piglet, said Pooh. Hello, Pooh, said Piglet, giving a jump of surprise. I knew it was you. So did I, said Pooh. What are you doing?
I'm planting a haycorn, Pooh, so that it can grow up into an oak tree and have lots of acorns just outside the front door instead of having to walk miles and miles. Do you see, Pooh?" "Supposing it doesn't," said Pooh. "It will, because Christopher Robin says it will, so that's why I'm planting it." "Well," said Pooh, "if I planted a honeycomb outside my house, then it will grow up into a beehive." Piglet wasn't quite sure about this. "Or a piece of a honeycomb," said Pooh, "so as not to waste too much. Only then I might get a piece of a beehive, and it might be the wrong piece, where the bees were buzzing and not honeying." "Bother." Piglet agreed that that would be rather bothering. "Besides, Pooh, it's a very difficult thing planting unless you know how to do it," he said. And he put the acorn into the hole he had made and covered it up with earth and jumped on it. "I do know," said Pooh, "because Christopher Robin gave me a nasturtium seed, and I planted it, and I'm going to have nasturtiums all over the front door." "I thought they were called nasturtiums," said Piglet timidly as he went on jumping. "No," said Pooh, "not these. These are called nasturtiums." When Piglet had finished jumping, he wiped his paws on his front and said, "What shall we do now?" And Pooh said, "Let's go see Kanga and Roo and Tigger," and Piglet said, "Yes, let's," because he was still a little anxious about Tigger, who was a very bouncy animal, with a way of saying, "How do you do?" which always left your ears full of sand, even after Kanga had said, "Gently, Tigger dear," and had helped you up again. So they set off for Kanga's house. Now it happened that Kanga had felt rather motherly that morning and wanted to count things, like Roo's vests and how many pieces of soap there were left, and the 2 clean spots in Tigger's feeder, so that she had sent them out with a packet of watercress sandwiches for Roo and a packet of extract of malt sandwiches for Tigger, to have a nice long morning in the forest, not getting into mischief. And off they had gone. And as they went, Tigger told Roo, who wanted to know all about the things that Tiggers could do. "Can they fly?" asked Roo. "Yes," said Tigger. "They're very good flyers. Tiggers are stormy good flyers." "Ooh," said Roo. "Can they fly as well as Owl?" "Yes," said Tigger, "only they don't want to." "Why don't they want to?" "Oh, well, they just don't like it somehow." Roo couldn't understand this, because he thought it would be lovely to be able to fly, but Tigger said it was difficult to explain to anybody who wasn't a Tigger himself. "Well," said Roo, "can they jump as far as Kangas?" "Oh, yes," said Tigger, "when they want to." "I love jumping," said Roo. "Let's see who can jump the farthest, you or me." "I can," said Tigger. "But we mustn't stop now, or we shall be late." "Late for what?" "For whatever we want to be on time for," said Tigger, hurrying on. In a little while they came back to the 6 pine trees. "I can swim," said Roo. "I fell into the river and I swimmed. Can Tiggers swim?" "Of course they can. Tiggers can do everything." "Can they climb trees better than Pooh?" asked Roo, stopping under the tallest pine tree and looking up at it. "Oh, climbing trees is what they do best," said Tigger. "Much better than Pooh's." "Could they climb this one?" "They're always climbing trees like that," said Tigger. "Up and down all day." "Ooh, Tigger, are they really?" "I'll show you,"
said Tigger bravely. "And you can sit on my back and watch me." For all the things which he had said Tiggers could do, the only one he felt really certain about suddenly was climbing trees. "Ooh, Tigger, ooh, Tigger, ooh, Tigger, ooh," squeaked Roo excitedly. So he sat on Tigger's back, and up they went. And for the first 10 feet, Tigger said happily to himself, "Up we go!" And for the next 10 feet, he said, "I always said Tiggers could climb trees." And for the next 10 feet, he said, "Not that it's easy, mind you." And for the next 10 feet, he said, "Of course, the coming down too backwards." And then he said, "Which will be difficult unless one fell, which then it would be easy." And at the word easy, the branch he was standing on broke suddenly, and he just managed to clutch at the one above him as he felt himself going. And then, slowly, he got his chin over it, and then one back paw, and then the other, until at last he was sitting on it, breathing quickly and wishing that he had gone in for swimming instead. Roo climbed off and sat down next to him. "Oh, Tigger," he said excitedly, "are we at the top?" "No." Are we going to the top?" "No," said Tigger. "Oh," said Roo, rather sadly. And then he went on hopefully, "That was a lovely bit just now, when you pretended we were going to fall bump to the bottom. But we didn't. Will you do that bit again?" "No," said Tigger. Roo was silent for a little while, and then he said, "Shall we eat our sandwiches, Tigger?" And Tigger said, "Oh, yes, where are they?" And Roo said, "At the bottom of the tree." And Tigger said, "I don't think we'd better eat them just yet." So they didn't. You guys are amazing. Wow, 97 new followers. Welcome, everyone. And I wonder if we'll get to 100. That'll be the first time we've gotten to 100 followers in like a month. I don't think I even hit 50 new followers in one live stream last month. Oh, David, thank you. I appreciate you very much. By and by, Pooh and Piglet came along. Pooh was telling Piglet in a singing voice that it didn't seem to matter if he didn't get any fatter, and he didn't think he was getting any fatter. What he did, and Piglet was wondering how long it would be before his acorn came up. "Look, Pooh," said Piglet suddenly. "There's something in one of the pine trees." "So there is," said Pooh, looking up wonderingly. "There's an animal." Piglet took Pooh's arm in case Pooh was frightened. "Is it one of the fiercer animals?" he said, looking the other way. Pooh nodded. "It's a jaguar," he said. "Oh, what do jaguars do?" asked Piglet, hoping they wouldn't. "They hide in the branches of trees and drop on you as soon as you go underneath," said Pooh. "Christopher Robin told me." "Perhaps we hadn't go underneath, Pooh, in case he dropped and hurt himself." "They don't hurt themselves," said Pooh. "They're such very good droppers." Piglet still felt that to be underneath a very good dropper would be a mistake, and he was just going to hurry back for something which he had forgotten when the jaguar called out to them. "Help! Help!" it called. "That's what jaguars do," said Pooh, much interested. "They call out, 'Help! Help!' and then when you look up, they drop on you." "I'm looking down," so cried Piglet loudly, so as the jaguar shouldn't do the wrong thing by accident. Something very excited next to the jaguars heard him and squeaked,
Pooh and Piglet! Pooh and Piglet!"
All of a sudden, Piglet felt it was much nicer day than he had thought, all warm and sunny.
"Pooh!" he cried. "I believe it's Tigger and Roo."
"Oh, so it is," said Pooh. "I thought it was a jaguar and another jaguar."
"Hello, Roo,"
called Piglet.
"What are you doing?" "We can't get down! We can't get down!" cried Roo. "Isn't it fun? Pooh, isn't it fun? Tigger and I are living in a tree like Owl, and we're going to stay here forever and ever. I can see Piglet's house. Piglet, I can see your house from here. Aren't we high? Is Owl's house up as high as this?" "How did you get there, Roo?" asked Piglet. "On Tigger's back. And Tiggers can't climb downwards because their tails get in the way. Only upwards. And Tigger forgot about that when he started, and he's only just remembered. So we've got to stay here forever and ever, unless we go higher. What did you say, Tigger?" "Oh, Tigger says if we go higher, we shan't be able to see Piglet's house so well. So we're going to stop here."
"Piglet," said Pooh solemnly when he heard all this, "what shall we do?" And he began to eat Tigger's sandwiches.
"Are they stuck?"
asked Piglet anxiously. Pooh nodded.
"Couldn't you climb up to them?"
"I might, Piglet, and I might bring Roo down on my back, but I couldn't bring Tigger down, so we must think of something else." And in a thoughtful way he began to eat Roo's sandwiches too. Whether he would have thought of anything before he had finished the last sandwich, I don't know. But he had just got to the last one when there was a crackling in the bracken, and Christopher Robin and Eeyore came strolling along together. "I shouldn't be surprised if it hailed a good deal tomorrow," Eeyore was saying. "Blizzards and what not. Being a fine day doesn't mean anything. It has no what's that word? Well, it has none of that. It's just a small piece of weather."
"There's Pooh," said Christopher Robin, who didn't much mind what it did tomorrow as long as he was out in it. "Hello, Pooh." "Hello, it's Christopher Robin," said Piglet. "He'll know what to do."
They hurried up to him.
"Oh, Christopher Robin,"
began Pooh. "And Eeyore," said Eeyore.
Tigger and Roo are right up in the 6 pine trees, and they can't get down, and I was just saying," put in Piglet, "that if only Christopher Robin—"
"And Eeyore."
"If only you were here, then we could think of something to do."
Christopher Robin looked up at Tigger and Roo and tried to think of something.
"I thought," said Piglet earnestly, "what if Eeyore stood at the bottom of the tree, and if Pooh stood on Eeyore's back, and if I stood on Pooh's shoulders—"
"And if Eeyore's back snapped suddenly, then we could all laugh. Ha, ha." "Amusing in a quiet way," said Eeyore, "but not really helpful."
"Well," said Piglet meekly, "I thought—"
"Would it break your back, Eeyore?" asked Pooh, very much surprised. "That would be so interesting, Pooh, not being quite sure till afterwards." Pooh said, "Oh," and they all began to think again.
"I've got an idea," cried Christopher Robin suddenly.
"Listen to this, Piglet," said Eeyore, "and then you'll know what we're trying to do."
"I'll take off my tunic, and we'll each hold a corner, and then Roo and Tigger can jump into it, and it will be all soft and bouncy for them, and they won't hurt themselves."
"Getting Tigger down," said Eeyore, "and not hurting anybody." Keep those two ideas in your head, Piglet, and you'll be all right."
But Piglet wasn't listening. He was so agog at the thought of seeing Christopher Robin's blue braces again. He had only seen them once before, when he was much younger, and, being a little overexcited by them, had to go to bed half an hour earlier than usual. And he had always wondered since if they were really as blue and as bracing as he thought them. So when Christopher Robin took his tunic off, and they were, he felt quite friendly to Eeyore again, and held the corner of the tunic next to him, and smiled. "I swear I'm not tired," and smiled happily at him. And Eeyore whispered back,
"I'm not saying there won't be an accident now, mind you. They're funny things, accidents. You never have them until you're having them."
When Roo understood what he had to do, he was wildly excited, and cried out, "Tigger, Tigger, Tigger, we're going to jump! Look at me jumping, Tigger, like flying! My jumping will be! Tigger, can Tiggers do it?" And he squeaked out, "I'm coming, Christopher Robin!" And he jumped straight into the middle of the tunic, and he was going so fast that he bounced up again almost as high as where he was before, and went on bouncing and saying, "Oh!" for quite a long time, and then at last he stopped and said, "Oh, lovely!" and they put him on the ground. "Come on, Tigger," he called out. "It's easy." But Tigger was holding on to the branch and saying to himself, "Oh, it's all very well for jumping animals like Kangas, but it's quite different for swimming animals like Tiggers." And he thought of himself floating on his back down a river, or striking out from one island to another, and he felt that was really the life for a Tigger. You guys are amazing. Thank you. 200,000 likes. This month is starting off well. I don't want to jinx it. Knock on wood, throw salt over my shoulder, all that happy stuff. I appreciate you guys. "Come along," called Christopher Robin. "You'll be all right." "Oh, just wait a moment," said Tigger nervously. "A small piece of bark in my eye." And he moved slowly along his branch. "Come on, it's easy," squeaked Roo. And suddenly Tigger found out how easy it was. "Oh!" he shouted as the tree flew past him. "Look out!" cried Christopher Robin to the others. There was a crash and a tearing noise and a confused heap of everybody on the ground. Christopher Robin and Pooh and Piglet picked themselves up first, and then they picked Tigger up, and underneath everybody else was Eeyore. "Oh, Eeyore!" cried Christopher Robin. "Are you hurt?" And he felt himself rather anxiously, and dusted him and helped him to stand up again. Eeyore said nothing for a long time, and then he said, "Is Tigger there?" Tigger was there, feeling bouncy again already. "Yes," said Christopher Robin. "Tigger's here." "Well, just thank him for me," said Eeyore. I love Eeyore. All right, well, we are on tonight's last chapter before we continue on tomorrow night, and I gotta say, I'm really super happy. Well, hey, Wings, I see you over there on the tubes sneaking around. Only here for the giggles. Well, I'm glad. Chapter 5, in which Rabbit has a busy day, and we learn what Christopher Robin does in the mornings. It was going to be one of Rabbit's busy days. As soon as he woke up, he felt important, as if everything depended upon him. It was just the day for organizing something, or for writing a notice signed Rabbit, or for seeing what everybody else thought about it. It was a perfect morning for hurrying around to Pooh and saying, "Very well then, I'll tell Piglet," and then going to Piglet and saying, "Pooh thinks, but perhaps I'd better see Owl first." It was a captainish sort of day when everybody said, "Yes, Rabbit," and "No, Rabbit," and waited until he had told them. He came out of his house and sniffed. The warm spring morning as he wondered sniffed the warm spring morning as he wondered what he would do. Kanga's house was nearest, and at Kanga's house was Roo, who said, "Yes, Rabbit," and "No, Rabbit," almost better than the strange and bouncy Tigger, and he was the sort of Tigger who was always in front when you were showing him the way anywhere, and was generally out of sight when at last you came to the place and said proudly, "Here we are." "No, not Kanga's," said Rabbit thoughtfully to himself, as he curled his whiskers in the sun, and, to make quite sure that he wasn't going there, he turned to the left and trotted off in the other direction, which was the way to Christopher Robin's house. "After all," said Rabbit to himself, "Christopher Robin depends on me. He's fond of Pooh and Piglet and Eeyore, and so am I, but they haven't any brain not to notice. And he respects Owl because you can't help respecting anybody who can spell Tuesday, even if he doesn't spell it right. But spelling isn't everything. There are days when spelling Tuesday simply doesn't count. And Kanga is too busy looking after Roo, and Roo is too young, and Tigger is too bouncy to be any help. So there's really nobody but me. When you come to look at it, I'll go and see if there's anything he wants, and then I'll do it for him. It's just the day for doing things." He trotted along happily, and by he crossed the stream and came to the place where his friends and relations lived. There seemed to be even more of them about than usual this morning, and having nodded to a hedgehog or two with whom he was too busy to shake hands, and having said, good morning," importantly to some of the others, and "Ah, there you are," kindly to the smaller ones, he waved a paw at them over his shoulder and was gone, leaving such an air of excitement and I don't know what behind him that several members of the Beetle family, including Henry Rush, made their way at once to the 100 Acre Wood and began climbing trees, in the hope of getting to the top before it happened, whatever it was, so that they might see it properly. Rabbit hurried on by the edge of the 100 Acre Wood, feeling more important every minute, and soon he came to the tree where Christopher Robin lived. He knocked at the door, and he called out once or twice, and then he walked back a little way and put his paw up to keep the sun out. "Hello!" and "I say, it's Rabbit!" But nothing happened. Then he stopped and listened, and everything stopped and listened with him, and the forest was very lone and still and peaceful in the sunshine, until suddenly, 100 miles above him, a lark began to sing. "Bother," said Rabbit, "he's gone out." He went back to the green front door just to make sure, and he was turning away, feeling that his morning had got all spoilt, when he saw a piece of paper on the ground, and there was a pin on it, and as if it had fallen off the door. "Ha!" said Rabbit, feeling quite happy again. "Another notice." This is what it said: "Gone out, backson, busy, backson, CR." "Ha!" said Rabbit again. "I must tell the others," and he hurried off importantly. The nearest house was Owl's, and to Owl's house in the 100 Acre Wood he made his way. He came to the owl's door, and he knocked and rang, and he rang and knocked, and at last Owl's head came out and said,
"Oh, go away. I'm thinking."
"Oh, it's you," which was how he always began. "Owl," said Rabbit shortly, "you and I have brains. The others have fluff. If there's any thinking to be done in this forest, and when I say thinking, I mean thinking, you and I must do it."
Yes," said Owl. "I was."
"Read that." Owl took Christopher Robin's notice from Rabbit and looked at it nervously. He could spell his own name, W-O-L, and he could spell Tuesday, so that you knew it wasn't Wednesday, and so he could read quite comfortably when you weren't looking over his shoulder and saying, "Well," all the time. And he could. "Well?" said Rabbit.
Yes,"
said Owl, looking wise and thoughtful.
"I see what you mean, undoubtedly."
"Well?"
"Exactly,"
said Owl.
"Precisely."
And he added, after a little thought,
"If you had not come to me, I should have come to you."
"Why?" asked Rabbit.
"For that very reason,"
said Owl, hoping that something helpful would happen soon. "Yesterday morning," said Rabbit solemnly, "I went to see Christopher Robin. He was out. Pinned on his door was a notice."
"The same notice?"
"A different one, but the meaning was the same. It's very odd."
"Amazing," said Owl,
looking at the notice again and getting, just for a moment, a curious sort of feeling that something had happened to Christopher Robin's back.
"What did you do?"
"Nothing."
"The best thing,"
said Owl wisely. "Well," said Rabbit again, as Owl knew he was going to.
"Exactly," said Owl.
For a little while he couldn't think of anything more, and then, all of a sudden, he had an idea.
"Tell me, Rabbit, the exact words of the first notice. This is very important. Everything depends on this. The exact words of the first notice."
"It was just the same as that one, really." Owl looked at him and wondered whether to push him off the tree. But feeling that he could... Anyway, let me start that. Owl looked at him and wondered whether to push him off the tree, but feeling that he could always do it afterwards, he tried once more to find out what they were talking about.
"Exact words, please," he said, as if Rabbit hadn't spoken.
It just said, 'Gone out, back, son,' same as this, only this says, 'busy, back, son,' too." Owl gave a great sigh of relief.
"Ah,"
said Owl.
"Now we know where we are."
"Yes, but where's Christopher Robin?" said Rabbit. "That's the point." Owl looked at the notice again. To one of his education and reading of it was easy. Gone out, backson, busy, backson. Just the sort of thing you'd expect to see on a notice.
"Oh, it is quite clear what has happened, my dear Rabbit," he said. "Christopher Robin has gone out somewhere with Backson. He and Backson are busy together. Have you seen a Backson anywhere about in the forest lately?"
"I don't know," said Rabbit. "That's what I came to ask you. What are they like?"
"Well," said Owl, "the spotted or herbaceous Backson is just at least," he said, "it's really more of a... of course," he said, "it depends on the..." "Well," said Owl, "The fact is," he said, "I don't know what they're like," said Owl frankly.
Thank you,
said Rabbit, and he hurried off to see Pooh. Before he had gone very far, he heard a noise, so he stopped and listened. This was the noise. Noise by Pooh. "Oh, the butterflies are singing, now the winter days are dying, and the primroses are trying to be seen, and the turtle doves are cooing, and the woods are up and doing, for the violets are bluing in the green. Oh, the honey bees are gumming on their little wings, and humming that summer which is coming will be fun, and the cows are almost cooing, and the turtle doves are mooing, which is why a Pooh is pooing in the sun. For the spring is really springing. You can see a skylark singing, and the bluebells which are ringing can be heard. And the cuckoo isn't cooing, but he's cooking, and he's oohing, and Pooh is simply pooing like a bird." "Hello, Pooh," said Rabbit. "Hello, Rabbit," said Pooh dreamily. "Did you make that song up?" "Well, I sort of made it up," said Pooh. "It isn't brain," he went on humbly, "because you know why, Rabbit. It comes to me sometimes." "Ah," said Rabbit, who never let things come to him, but always went and fetched them. "Well, the point is, have you seen a spotted or herbaceous baxen in the forest at all?" No," said Pooh. No," said Pooh. "I saw a Tigger just now." "That's no good." "No," said Pooh. "I thought it wasn't." "Have you seen Piglet?" "Yes," said Pooh. "I suppose that isn't any good either," he asked meekly. "Well, it depends if he saw something." "He saw me," said Pooh. Rabbit sat down on the ground next to Pooh, and feeling much less important like that, stood up again. "What it all comes to is this," he said. "What does Christopher Robin do in the morning nowadays?" "What sort of thing?" "Well, can you tell me anything you've seen him do in the morning these last few days?" "Yes," said Pooh. "We've had breakfast together yesterday by the pine trees. I made up a little basket, just a little fair-sized basket with an ordinary biggish sort of basket full of—" Yes, said Rabbit, "but I mean later than that. Have you seen him between 11 and 12? "Well," said Pooh, "at 11 o'clock... At 11 o'clock... Well, at 11 o'clock, you see, I generally get home about then, because I have 1 or 2 things to do." "11:15, then?" "Well," said Pooh. "Half-past?" "Yes," said Pooh. "At half-past, or perhaps later, I might see him." And now that he did think of it, he began to remember that he hadn't seen Christopher Robin about so much lately. Not in the mornings. Afternoons, yes. Evenings, yes. Before breakfast, yes. Just after breakfast, yes. And then perhaps, "See you again, Pooh," and off he'd go. "That's just it," said Rabbit. "Where?" "Perhaps he was looking for something." "What?" asked Rabbit. "It's just what I was going to say," said Rabbit. And then said Pooh, and then he added, "Perhaps he was looking for a spotted herbaceous baxen?" "Yes," said Pooh, "one of those, in case it isn't." Rabbit looked at him severely. "I don't think you're helping," he said. "No," said Pooh. "I do try," he added humbly. Rabbit thanked him for trying, and said that he would go now and see Eeyore, and Pooh could walk with him if he liked. But Pooh, who felt another verse of his song coming, said he would wait for Piglet.
Goodbye, Rabbit. And so off he went. But, as it happened, it was Rabbit who saw Piglet first. Piglet had got up early that morning to pick himself a bunch of violets, and when he had picked them and put them in a pot in the middle of his house, it suddenly came over him that nobody had ever picked Eeyore a bunch of violets. And the more he thought about it, the more he thought how sad it was to be an animal who had never had a bunch of violets picked for them. So he hurried out again, saying to himself, Eeyore, violets, and then violets, Eeyore, in case he forgot. Because it was the sort of day, and he picked a large bunch and trotted along, smelling them, and feeling very happy until he came to the place where Eeyore was. "Oh, Eeyore!" began Piglet a little nervously, because Eeyore was busy. Eeyore put out a paw and waved him away. "Tomorrow," said Eeyore, "or the next day." Piglet came a little closer to see what it was. Eeyore had 3 sticks on the ground, and he was looking at them. 2 of the sticks were touching at one end, but not at the other. And the 3rd stick was laid across them. Piglet thought that perhaps was a trap of some kind. "Oh, Eeyore," he began again. "Is that little Piglet?" said Eeyore, still looking hard at his sticks. "Yes, Eeyore, and I—" "Do you know what this is?" "No," said Piglet. "It's an A." "Oh," said Piglet. "Not O, A," said Eeyore severely. "Can't you hear, or do you think you have more education than Christopher Robin?" "Yes," said Piglet. "No," said Piglet very quickly, and he came closer still. Christopher Robin said it was an A. "And an A it is until somebody treads on me," Eeyore added sternly. Piglet jumped backwards hurriedly and smelt at his violets. "Do you know what A means, little Piglet?" "No, Eeyore, I don't." "A means learning. It means education. It means all the things that you and Pooh haven't got. That's what A means." "Oh," said Piglet again. "I mean, does it?" he explained quickly. "I'm telling you. People come and go in this forest, and they say, 'It's only Eeyore, so it doesn't count.' They walk to and fro, ha, ha, but do they know anything about A? They don't. It's just 3 sticks to them. But to the educated, mark this, little Piglet, to the educated not meaning something that anybody can come and breathe on." Piglet stepped back nervously and looked round for help. "Here's Rabbit," he said gladly. "Hello, Rabbit." Rabbit came up importantly and nodded to Piglet and said, "Ah, Eeyore," in the voice of one who would be saying goodbye in about 2 more minutes. "There's just one thing I wanted to ask you, Eeyore. What happens to Christopher Robin in the mornings nowadays?" "This is what I'm looking at," said Eeyore, still looking at it. 3 sticks, said Rabbit promptly. "You see," said Eeyore to Piglet. He turned to Rabbit. "I will now answer your question." "Thank you," said Rabbit. "What does Christopher Robin do in the mornings? He learns. He becomes educated. He instaurates. I think that is the word he mentioned.
but I may be referring to something else. He integrates knowledge. In my small way, I also have the word right, am doing what he does. That is, for instance, is an A, said Rabbit, but not very good one. Well, I must get back and tell the others. Eeyore looked at his sticks, and then he looked at Piglet. What did Rabbit say it was? He asked. An A, said Piglet. Did you tell him? No, Eeyore, I didn't. I expect he just knew. He knew. You mean this A thing is a thing Rabbit knew? Yes, Eeyore. He's clever, Rabbit is. Clever, said Eeyore, scornfully putting a foot heavily on his 3 sticks. Education, said Eeyore bitterly, jumping on his sticks. What is learning? Asked Eeyore as he kicked his 12 sticks into the air. A thing Rabbit knows. Ha! I think, began Piglet nervously. Don't, said Eeyore. I think violets are rather nice, said Piglet, and he laid his bunch in front of Eeyore and scampered off. Next morning, the notice on Christopher Robin's door said, Gone out, back soon, C.R., which is why all the animals in the forest, except, of course, the spotted and herbaceous Baxen, now know what Christopher Robin does in the mornings. Oh, good night, CZ. All righty then. Well, that is where we're going to stop for the night. We'll finish up the last half of the book tomorrow. I am so glad that so many of you were able to stop in and say hello. And 114 new people, 236 likes, which is, this really is a good start to the month, considering last month just holy sucked. Anyway, Mary, you're very welcome. So, seeing as we have 114 new people, I don't know how many of you are still in here, but if you have any questions, I'll hang out for a few minutes if you like, and you can ask questions. Just to let you know, I am on 4 nights a week, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 p.m. Sundays and Mondays are generally reserved for family-friendly items. We've done picture books. We've done, like Winnie the Pooh, we've done many children's chapter books, and it's always fun. How did I get so talented? I made a deal with I don't know, this guy with horns. He was a little weird. He had a tail. And it was like, I'll trade you your soul for talent, and I went, okay. Kidding, maybe. Anyway. Well, Kaylee, I'm glad I made your night. That's wonderful. But anyway, Wednesdays and Fridays are generally reserved for short stories. We've read some Edgar Allan Poe, some H.P. Lovecraft, Stephen King, Richard Matheson, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. We've done Isaac Asimov, Arthur C. Clarke, Philip K. Dick, and the list goes on. But they are generally a little more dark and mysterious, so to speak. So I am glad to have you here, and it's been really great. So I'm really tired. I apologize if I started falling asleep. Michelle, I am so happy you found us too, and Marcy, good night. Princess Acosta, have a good night too. Buford, good night. Lorna, good to see you again. Good night to you too. Clive Barker, yes, the body politic. That was a wild night. I really thought we were going to get spanked with a content violation that night, but I just kind of threw caution to the wind. Smooch, I am so glad you enjoyed it. Mary, good night. Peggy, good night.
I appreciate you guys. So, that is where we will leave our story for tonight, with Tigger finally settling into the forest and everyone trying to understand just what Christopher Robin has been doing with his mornings. Thank you all for spending a little time with me by the fire tonight. Join me tomorrow night as we return again to the 100 Acre Wood and conclude the House at Pooh Corner. If you enjoy these stories and would like to help support what I do here, please consider becoming a superfan. You will be in a very exclusive club, just saying. Or going to the UndeadPapa Mercantile for some official Storytime merch. The link is in my bio. Every bit of support helps keep the campfire lit. I feel incredibly lucky, Timothy, really. So, until then, please be kind to each other. And be kind to yourself, because kindness matters. And so do you. Good night, everybody. And good night over there on the tubes. I greatly appreciate you guys staying and hanging out with us. It was great to see some new activity over there. I appreciate you all, and we will be back tomorrow.